I do have really bad news for Kings fans tonight. And this is not trash talk.
No, it's funny because
I'm kind of done with all that.
We might have broken this this news yesterday, and I don't know if this is where you're going because you and I didn't talk in the break because I had, I'm in my 50s, and every chance I get, I have to go to the bathroom. I'll be honest.
No problem.
But no, I wonder if you're going to say what we said yesterday because it's really bad news.
I have two pieces of bad news.
It's a two-piece?
It's a two-piece.
Okay.
One of them, I'll give you some backing for it before I even give you my opinion.
Okay.
How about if Fran Fraschilla says it rather than me? Does that give it more credibility?
I love Fran Fraschilla.
So do I. Now,
Fraschilla.
Fraschilla Manila.
Thank you. Would have been better.
Fraschilla does not have a blue check mark, so it might just be some guy named Fran. I don't know. But here's what he tweeted a few hours ago. Domantas Sabonis just picked up his second foul walking through the lobby of the Sacramento Kings Hotel. Seriously, the Warriors are not losing Game 3 tonight with or without Draymond. And you better believe that what he just said has some truth. Am I a conspiracy theorist? No. But have you watched NBA basketball before in your life? Have you watched home playoff teams who spend a lot of time talking about the whistle? Have you watched a home playoff team that is in the middle of a dynasty that's down 2-0 and, oh, by the way, had the NBA go on a PR tour 24 hours before to explain their suspension? The Warriors are getting the whistle tonight in an absolute avalanche sort of a way. If you breathe on Steph Curry, that's a foul. If you look at Steph Curry, that's a flagrant. If you actually foul Steph Curry, you're ejected. Get out of the game.
You're gone.
Gone.
I thought we were going to get Scott Foster, and I actually said as much to Steve Kerr yesterday. Yeah. I said, don't worry, Steve, we're getting Scott tomorrow, and if you want me to talk to him, I will. But because I was asking Steve, on behalf of all Warriors fans, can you please tell the refs to stop holding Steph Curry because they're holding him, they're grabbing him. And you know me, Mark, I love the refs, and I always will defend the refs. When in doubt, I'm all about the zebras, but the amount of clutching and grabbing on Steph has been egregious. And I do agree with you that in this game, I think that they're going to lean the other way. And I also think that Domas Sabonis, anytime that his elbow goes anywhere near above his waist, you might see a flagrant. It's going to be Eric Lewis, Kevin Scott, and Sean Corbin on the whistle.
Never heard of any of them.
Pretty nondescript crew.
Yeah,
and I will punch the numbers up here in the next segment so I can give you a better idea of what this crew might do in terms of fouls called. I told you Zach Zarba was going to let him play. In that first quarter, I know we haven't gotten your Game 2 thoughts yet because you were gone, but first quarter of Game 2, that thing was WWE. That was a straight-up, maul.
That's the problem for Sabonis. This isn't even about, because anybody who's losing always hates the refs. So I don't want this to sound like I'm whining about the way that this has been officiated.
Right.
The Kings have been the better team. So that's the end of that. But there are too many videos on social media of Sabonis tackling people. I don't know why we don't just call this what it is. Ankle grabber. What about the night before where I think it was Draymond where he locked arms and pulled him straight to the ground on a play that was away from the ball? He's tackling too many people, and it's on the internet for all of us to watch. And then he ended up in this controversial situation where he clearly tried to play both sides. Oh, hey, Sabonis, you grabbed his ankle. Well, stuff happens in the playoffs. Oh, well, then what about him stepping on your chest? Oh, well, there's no room for that in the game. Well, wait a minute. You can't have it both ways. I think a normal person can look at what Draymond did and be like, that's not okay. You can't stomp him on the chest and then jump on a chair and start yelling profanities at the fans. Nobody's in support of that.
Right.
But does that mean that Sabonis just scot-free? You're not allowed to have an opinion about the stuff that he's doing below the hoop? Of course you should be able to, and it's all over the internet for us to see.
Right.
So that's kind of where, when you look
and that whole sequence, Mark, not to cut you off,
go ahead.
but that whole sequence starts with Sabonis grabbing Klay Thompson and basically
tackling him.
It was a rag doll. And he throws Klay down, and then he kind of collides with Draymond's leg, and then he grabs Draymond's leg. So you're absolutely right in terms of Sabonis. He's not some innocent little lamb. He's been out there pushing guys and fouling guys, and I do think that tonight, with Eric Lewis on the whistle, and I just punched it up, home team winning percentage for Eric Lewis in the regular season.
112. What is it?
It is 614 as crew chief. Mm-hmm. The home team wins 61.4% of the time, and he's called the second, his crew is called the second most fouls per game in the association in the regular year.
Interesting. Well, what's the normal home team percentage?
The normal home team percentage is probably, like, the winning percentage of home teams is about 52, 53.
That's it?
This year it was lower than ever.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about, like, road records, I mean, the Kings are a great road team, right? The Warriors
one of the best.
The Warriors are a road team.
Yeah.
They're a team that played road
games. They have
games.
jerseys. Yes.
They've actually played games on the
Yeah.
road. But I think in general, it's about 53, 54. So Eric Lewis is, as the crew chief, and he is tonight, a lot more fouls, and the home team tends to get a kinder whistle.
Yeah,
so there you go.
And then here's the second thing that is just like, you're going to hate this, Kings fan, but this is just the reality of the situation. Now, you campaigned for a suspension. Don't get it twisted. You can still think that he should be suspended. I don't care what your opinion is.
4 more games. 4 more games.
You campaigned for it. Mike Brown started it in the post-game presser when he's like, it'll be interesting to see what happens when the league looks at this. Then Sabonis goes to the locker room. There's no place in the game for this. It continued. Then there was the injury report game. So you campaigned for this, and you got it, which flies in the face of what you've been saying for the last week you want. What does a Kings fan, what does the organization want? They want respect. They want acknowledgement. We've been good all year, and you're just not watching. Side note, funniest thing I've ever heard anyone say, because nobody watches anybody else's NBA team. Like, Kings fans are like, you haven't watched us all year. You haven't watched anyone else either, which is why
Shout out League Pass.
Right. It's why you think Draymond is not a good player, KC, because you're not watching Warrior games and you don't understand the good things that he does.
Are you talking about Kenny Carried Away?
Yes, I am. And he's done a great job jumping all over this series.
You.
And so
I'm pretty proud of that, so I'm going to keep that thing.
It's pretty good.
Yeah,
it was pretty good. It was pretty good. So anyway,
I got it out of market 5, which is rare.
But do you remember the stat that came up last year, which was the Golden State Warriors, when Steph, Klay, and Dre all are available for all games of a series?
Yeah.
They've never lost.
Yeah, this is
well, that stat is automatically going to continue.
Right. Can I just say this real quick?
I know that you'll say it doesn't matter.
I was going to text it to the thread earlier. Not only does it not matter,
it totally matters.
I hate this stat.
Fine.
I hate it.
You can hate it, but ask yourself, if the 73-9 Warriors, how many years ago is that now? 6?
6, yeah.
Okay. Have you ever heard this statement? Boy, if Draymond hadn't been suspended for that game 5, I think the Warriors would have won. You ever heard someone say that?
I have. I've said it myself.
How about 1 billion times?
Right. But here's the one that I take issue with. And this is the statement that many fans make. And they say, if Draymond wouldn't have been suspended, they'd have 5 championships. No, they wouldn't. Because if they win that title,
they don't get Durant.
KD doesn't come.
Well, but who
and
knows?
They don't win the next 2.
Who knows? Maybe they do.
Don't. I don't think they win the next 2.
That's fair.
They won the next 2 as easily as they did because they had one of the greatest players in the history of the game. So the whole thing about, like, oh, if Draymond wouldn't have been suspended, they'd have 5. No, you can't say that. Now, would they have won that one? I do believe that. I think they would have won Game 5. I think they would have won that series. Absolutely. But the whole thing about, oh, they've never lost a series when Steph, Klay, and Dre have played the whole time.
Fact.
Who cares? That's not, to me, that's nonsense.
They do, and fans do.
Well,
it was
they can think that, but the bottom line is,
it was a big deal last year.
But you lost.
I understand that.
You lose because Draymond can't control himself, and you lose because Klay Thompson's body broke down.
Right. Of course. I'm not saying it matters more than the outcome.
Right.
But if what the Kings fans and organization are all after is we slayed the dragon,
right,
then I would think you'd want to slay the whole dragon.
You would,
not part of it.
But at the same time, if you slay the dragon, and when the dragon has an autopsy done, and it turns out that the dragon had a tummy ache, or the dragon couldn't breathe fire because he had laryngitis, might be too soon for you.
Wow, I'm out.
Let's just say that the dragon couldn't breathe fire because he was having a bad day.
The A's are leaving.
Right. Oh, no, this is going to be an ugly show. I don't even know what I can come back with right now.
No, I get you. Look, it's a small.
But you still slayed the dragon.
It's a small thing to some. It's a small thing to some.
There's my comeback.
Yeah. It's a small thing to some, but it's a thing. We made a big deal about that last year, and so did Steph. All right, let's go to Bob in Reno. Hey, Bob, what are you doing?
Hey, Bob.
Hey, what's up, guys? Just working. I'm on my way to Carson City, the capital, right now. I just want to talk about turnovers. I mean, this is something that on Monday night I was really frustrated. I threw some things. I was like, there's just some bad passing with the Golden State Warriors. Regardless if Draymond's going to, with him being out for Game 3 and being suspended, how many turnovers do you think they might cause tonight? And is it going to hurt them with all these turnovers that do happen in the last two games they've had? They had 15 and 22.
Bob, thanks. I don't know how to answer this other than that it's almost gotten to a repetitive level that's annoying. You talked to Steve yesterday, and what did he tell you? Not worried about the turnovers?
Not worried at all, yeah.
You want to know why he's not worried about the turnovers? He is a parent who has given up on this subject.
Right.
Okay? I cannot get my youngest son to eat my favorite chicken dish.
Or to be an A student. It's like,
I've given it up.
Can you just get C's? And I'm okay with it.
If you're going to sit there and go crazy as the coach of the Warriors about turnovers, you've quit by now. This has been 9 years of this junk. Is this a worse version of it? Yes. Or, better said, does it hurt them more because they're not as dominant? We know the Warriors' DNA. They turned the ball over a lot, but they were so good, they were able to overcome it. Well, they're not anymore. So to think that tonight, all of a sudden, the Warriors are going to snap and just be like, we're very clean with the ball. Chest pass, bounce pass. I mean,
jump stop?
No, you're going to have more annoying turnovers, and they're going to have to be good enough to overcome it.
But what he talked about was the live ball turnover versus the dead ball turnover. Traveling is a dead ball turnover. An offensive foul is a dead ball turnover. Throwing the ball out of bounds is a dead ball turnover. Those are much more tolerable than the opening possession of virtually every game where it's either a Steph one-arm pass or a Draymond Green telegraph pass, and it's a pick two the other way. Those live ball turnovers are the ones that are killing them. And JD had the number yesterday. I think it was 41-19 points off turnovers through the first two games. And that is just unacceptable in terms of these games. And they've been so close, both these games.
You cheated on me yesterday with Steve Kerr. And this is part of what he said.
I think the biggest thing is just boxing out. We got beat on the offensive glass. And I'm not as worried about the turnovers because I think most of the turnovers were unforced. I didn't think the turnovers were a result of physicality. It was more just mental focus. So I think the biggest thing I'm concerned about on tape is the box outs. We got a little bit better in game 2. In game 1, we missed a ton of them. But without Draymond especially, we've got to be really locked in and proactive and keeping those guys off the glass.
I do agree with that. I mean, just in watching the first two games, whatever frustration level you have about turnovers, I would say it's even more with regard to Kings' offensive boards.
Yeah, and it's been tough because and he mentioned this later in the piece, and I apologize for cheating on you with Steve Kerr,
Absurd.
but I think that you would forgive me if I came to you and said, yeah, Mark, I was disloyal and I had a 20-minute affair with Steve Kerr. You'd be like, I'm mad at you, but I'll forgive you.
He's on your list.
Dude, exactly. He's on my list.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
you and Beyonce? Yeah. All right. What's for dinner? But he did mention that boxing out was huge, and he also mentioned that late in the game, Kevon Looney had a couple of box outs where Sabonis went over the back, and they didn't get the call their way.
Yes.
And so that's frustrating, but that's also why I think that Kuminga tonight is so big. Jonathan Kuminga has, wait for it, 1 rebound in 12 minutes of play in this NBA postseason series. So if Kuminga is going to play, I guarantee you the message to, and I don't want to steal from Steiny and do Steve Kerr pep talks, but it's going to be, hey, JK, rebound. Don't worry about scoring. Just go to the glass, my young man.
I'm fascinated to see how much he even plays tonight. I'm fascinated.
I think he starts.
See,
who do you start?
DiVincenzo. I would put in Divin. Yeah.
You gotta say it right. Can you say it?
DiVincenzo.
Thank you. Restaurant
really.
quality.
Yeah,
No,
I can't really
hang
do
in
it.
there, brother. I got your back. You know that.
Yeah, no, we're fine.
DiVincenzo, you would give him the nod?
Well, the reason being is because you have Wiggins back. So you can sort of move him, at least with what the Kings offer you as their stretch 4. You can get away with letting Wiggins guard that person. That's what I would do. That's what I would bet. Those starting minutes are a little bit too important to trust Kuminga based on what we've seen in the first 2 games. It's all about trust with the Warriors. I don't know if any word has mattered more this year than that. Think about it.
Yeah.
Draymond punches Jordan Poole. What word do they use? Trust. Why is James
lost their trust.
And why is James Wiseman on the Pistons?
Can't trust him.
Trust him.
Shout out Public Enemy. No.
Jonathan Kuminga does all this great
Can't
stuff
trust him.
down the regular season end, and they get to the playoffs, and what happens?
Can't trust him. Yeah.
So why'd they get GP2 back? Trust him. Trust him.
Right.
So
I like GP2 off the bench, and DiVincenzo is the only other one that I would think about in terms of starting.
Yep.
Jordan Poole, I think that you like to have his explosiveness coming in at the 4-minute mark for Clay, most likely, but JD and I were talking yesterday as JD and I had a very tumultuous, stormy 2-day relationship
I bet.
on these very microphones. And we both agreed that if you're going to play Kuminga at all, you're better off starting him and giving him that shot of confidence and that shot of trust and saying, JK, I believe in you. And Steve Kerr said this yesterday. He said, we still believe in JK. So if you do believe in him, give him that opening 4 or 6 minutes and say, go out there, be the JK that we need you to be. And if he's not, then you can go ahead and bury him.
I don't disagree. I can't wait to see what they actually do. And I
pressed him on it yesterday,
and how'd that go?
He dodged it. Yeah. He's like Neo in the Matrix, dodging bullets. You know me and the hard questions.
Yeah. I tell you what. And Steve usually just freezes and doesn't know what to do.